A third commenter, Chatty, issued what sounded like a warning from a religious elder. Trump, I voted for you, and I admire what you're doing for us, but this is a mistake. Messing with the Almighty may cause our demise. Mays. It's Christ who instated the papacy upon the first pope, St. Peter, and here you are mocking what's sacred. How dumb is that? These reproaches underscore a fundamental breach of trust. Devout conservative Catholics felt that their veneration for the Pope had been callously exploited for political theatre. This episode illustrates a critical miscalculation. Trump's brand relies on the unwavering loyalty of evangelical and Catholic conservatives, a demographic that has repeatedly forgiven his transgressions in the name of policy victories. Yet by trivializing a symbol as sacrosanct as the papacy, especially in the shadow of Pope Francis's recent funeral, Trump's team alienated key constituencies whose support is vital to any potential 2025 campaign. Moreover, the lack of an explanatory caption or context only exacerbated the offense. In an era when media savvy is prized, the decision to post the unadorned image suggested either a lack of foresight or a deliberate provocation. Either way, the fallout has exposed the limits of Trump's willingness to offend. When he strikes at the core beliefs of his base, he risks eroding the very coalition that propelled him to power. Looking ahead, this controversy may have lasting repercussions. Fundamentalist Christian leaders who once dismissed Trump's more flamboyant displays may now demand accountability. Grassroots activists, motivated by religious conviction, could reduce their turnout or shift their allegiances if they perceive a pattern of disrespect toward their faith. Finally, rival political figures or emerging candidates could seize upon this moment to court disaffected conservative Catholics, positioning themselves as defenders of religious tradition. In sum, what began as a provocative image has evolved into a larger commentary on the relationship between politics and faith. Donald Trump's impulsive decision to portray himself as the Pope has laid bare the tension between his penchant for spectacle and the deep-seated convictions of his supporters. As both allies and adversaries publicly recoiled, the incident signals a rare moment of unified dissent, a reminder that even in today's polarized climate, some lines remain sacrosanct. In the weeks following the Pope poster debacle, Republican strategists have scrambled to contain the political fallout. Internal polling allegedly showed a measurable dip in favorability among voters who identify as Catholic, a demographic that comprises nearly 1 in 5 registered Republicans nationally. While Trump's base remains broadly loyal, these numbers suggest fissures that could widen if unaddressed. Party operatives are reportedly considering targeted outreach campaigns, including private apologies from senior advisors to key faith leaders, and a promise to consult with religious scholars before any future content releases. Such damage control measures highlight the unusual gravity of this misstep. Beyond direct outreach, the episode has prompted a broader conversation about the limits of political satire when faith and identity intersect. Legal and ethical scholars have weighed in, warning that political figures risk violating deeply held communal boundaries when they co-opt sacred imagery for partisan gain. Commentators note that this case may become a teaching point in media ethics courses, underscoring the importance of contextual sensitivity and the unanticipated consequences of AI-generated content. In an era where deepfakes and manipulated media proliferate, even established figures must tread carefully. Moreover, the Pope poster controversy raises questions about the future of digital platforms like Truth Social. Critics argue that the absence of robust editorial oversight enables impulsive postings that can spiral into diplomatic or cultural incidents. Some analysts predict increased pressure on social media companies to implement review protocols for content that depicts national leaders in sensitive contexts. Failure to adapt could invite regulatory scrutiny or public backlash, potentially driving users toward rival platforms with stronger moderation policies. Ultimately, the lasting lesson from this affair may be that political branding, no matter how well established, is fragile when it collides with the sacred. Donald Trump's gambit, intended perhaps as a bold statement, instead revealed the enduring power of religious symbols and the perils of trivializing them. As the conservative movement grapples with reconciling its loyalty to a single leader against the diverse convictions of its followers, this incident will likely be remembered as a critical juncture, one that forced a reckoning over respect, strategy, and the boundaries of political expression. Whenever former President Donald Trump unleashes a provocative stunt, whether by taunting political adversaries or disparaging the presidency itself, the resulting uproar typically originates from his liberal critics. Yet on Friday, May 2, 2025, an AI-generated image of Trump donning papal vestments on his Truth social account shattered that pattern, igniting vehement condemnation from both his opponents and a swath of his own religious supporters. This rare bipartisan backlash underscores the depth of offence taken at what many deemed a mockery of Catholic tradition. To appreciate the gravity of this incident, one must first acknowledge Trump's penchant for headline-grabbing provocations. From incendiary tweets aimed at Democratic lawmakers to public denigrations of the judicial system, his combative style has long fueled outrage on the left. However, it seldom provokes widespread criticism from across the political spectrum. This time, though, Trump's apparent attempt at satirical imagery collided with deeply held religious sentiments, producing a firestorm of disapproval. The fallout began early in the day, with two prominent voices registering their dismay. Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett, known for her fiery rhetoric, delivered an unflinching assessment of Trump's initial months in office. In a succinct rundown, she identified 5 diabolical, disastrous, deplorable, detrimental, dumb decisions by the former president. 1. Advocating mass deportations that risked expelling US citizens. 2. Imposing steep tariffs that many viewed as counterproductive. 3. Prioritizing corporate magnates, notably Elon Musk and the Dogecoin phenomenon. 4. Eroding the system of checks and balances. And 5. Slashing essential federal services and workforce positions. Don't let anyone gaslight you, she warned. He's not just talking, he's doing, and we are truly watching our democracy unravel in real time. Her call to resist with truth, power, and purpose set the tone for what was to follow. Not long afterward, investor Warren Buffett offered his 2 cents on the administration's trade posture. In a stark admonition, he cautioned that a trade can be an act of war, lamenting the hostile rhetoric it has spawned domestically. We should be looking to trade with the rest of the world, he argued, advocating comparative advantage and mutual prosperity. Buffett warned against constructing a world order in which a few victorious nations boast, leaving others envious and unstable. Against this backdrop of policy critiques, attention turned to the jarring visual that appeared without commentary on Trump's Truth social page. The image depicted the former president seated in papal robes complete with the tiara and staff, projecting an air of ecclesiastical authority. What might have been intended as satire instead struck many as disgusting and blasphemous. Watchdog group Patriot Takes led the charge, lambasting the White House account's decision to share the artwork as a how embarrassing for the United States. Legal analyst Joyce Aline highlighted the quandary facing Catholic Republicans on Capitol Hill. There are 56 Catholic Republicans in the House and 11 in the Senate. What do they think about this? The New York State Catholic Conference added its voice, declaring that there's nothing clever or funny about this image, Mr. President. We just buried our beloved Pope Francis, and the cardinals are about to enter a solemn conclave to elect his successor. Do not mock us. And perhaps most illuminating was the reaction among Trump's own religious base, as chronicled by Raw Story. Far from rallying behind the image, many MAGA loyalists felt betrayed. One supporter, Rita Sars, who has previously castigated President Joe Biden as a jackal, now aimed her ire at Trump. I am not a Catholic, but I am a Christian, and Jesus Christ is my Lord and Saviour. I do not think it was a good idea to have President Trump look like the Pope. He is no Pope, he is the President of the USA, period. This was disrespectful to the Catholic faith. Another user, identified only as LL73, lamented, "Why did I ever believe you actually loved America over your own hubris? I've never regretted voting for you more than I do today." Never again, or again.